Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. Sunlight pours into the spacious living room through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the polished marble floors with glitter. Today is Brent and Melody's 25th wedding anniversary. Their children, Jason and Jennifer, along with a number of family and friends, were gathered. Celebrate the silver wedding of this exemplary couple. The air was filled with the aroma of champagne and roasted meats as the laughter and everything seemed so beautiful and harmonious. Brent, a successful construction company owner, dressed in a sharp suit, standing in a crowd of people. There was a happy smile on his face. He raised his glass in honor of the guests present, thanked them for their support and companionship over the years. Melody was standing next to him. An elegant blue dress accentuated her beautiful figure. The years didn't seem to have left much of a mark on her. She took Brent's arm, with a gentle smile on his face. From time to time, he whispers to his friends around him. However, on closer inspection, you'll find a hint of an imperceptible crack hidden underneath this harmonious picture. Brent's smile is big, though, but there was an occasional flash of weariness and despondency in his eyes. And Melody, as she met his eyes, and will quickly avert their eyes, too. It seems to be avoiding something. Dad, Mom, we have a special gift for you. Jason, a big, sunny, handsome boy, came forward with a fine gift box. Interrupting Brent's thoughts. Oh, what was the gift? So mysterious. Brent takes the gift box with a smile. A warmth welled up in his heart. Jennifer, a girl in the pavilion, and came along. There was a wry smile on his face. You're going to love it. In the midst of much anticipation, Brent opened the gift box. It contained 2 compact test tubes and an instruction manual. Is this the DNA test kit? Brent asked suspiciously. Yeah, Jennifer explained. Isn't this kind of genetic testing very popular nowadays? Can learn about their ancestry and health information. Me and Jason were just thinking, so that you can experience it too. Might find something interesting. Melody's face changed slightly but soon it was back to normal. The kids are so thoughtful, she said, a hint of imperceptible stiffness in her tone. Brent hadn't noticed Melody's strange behavior. He thought the kids were very creative with their gifts. It was then gladly accepted. Yeah, well, let's give it a shot. And so, in the presence of Brent and Melody each collected their own DNA samples using the kit and sent it to a testing facility. A few days later, the test results came back. The results are in. Come check it out. Jennifer excitedly took the test report, greeting everyone. Brent, the family is sitting around, looking at the report expectantly. Jennifer opened her report first, laughing. My results show that my ancestors came mainly from Europe, and a small portion of Asian ancestry. It's fun, isn't it? Jason opened his report, too. The results are much the same as Jennifer's. Okay, now it's your turn, Mom and Dad. Jennifer handed them Brent and Melody's reports. Brent opened the report with curiosity. However, when he saw the results above, the smile on his face froze instantly. He double-checked a couple times that. Just dare to believe your eyes. What's going on here? Brent's voice trembled. He pointed to a statistic on the report that. Look to Melody. Why doesn't Jason and Jennifer's and my paternity hold up? There was an instant silence in the parlor and everyone was stunned by Brent's words. Melody's face turned white with a swish and she opened her mouth, but no words came out. Not established? How is that possible? Jason and Jennifer have come along for the ride. After seeing the results, their expressions also became very shocked. Melody, what the hell is going on? Brent asked again. His voice was filled with anger and disbelief. Melody, keep your head down. Tears were welling up in his eyes. She knew that the moment had finally come. She took a deep breath and, slowly, I'm sorry, Brent. I've kept something from you? Under questioning from Brent and the kids, Melody finally reveals the secret that's been hidden for years. It turns out that Jason and Jennifer are not Brent's biological children. Their biological father, a man named Owen Richmond. Owen Richmond? A name quickly flashed through Brent's mind. That's his business rival, owner of Richmond Enterprise. Yes. Melody choked back a sob and, back in the day, your company was just getting started. There's a liquidity problem. I, I went to Owen in order to help you. Melody's story is broken, but Brent managed to piece together what happened. Back then, to help Brent's cause, Melody had to ask Owen for help, and Owen took advantage of it. And after that incident, Melody found out she was pregnant, but she's afraid to tell Brent, having to give birth to a child in silence, raised as Brent's own child. So, all these years you've been lying to me? Brent's voice was filled with disappointment and pain. I didn't mean to lie to you. I just, Melody sobbed. Enough. Brent interrupted Melody. I don't want to hear any more. He turned and left the parlor and, leaving Melody and the kids frozen in place. A few days later, Brent was introduced through a friend. A private investigator named Edward was found. Edward used to be a good detective, and then for some reason left the police force. Opened a private detective agency. Mr. Hansen, what do you want to investigate? Edward is sitting behind his desk. Look at Brent and ask right to the point. I want you to help me investigate Owen Richmond and his Richmond enterprise. Brent said, his tone firm. Owen Richmond? That's a big one. Edward said, investigating him will take quite a bit of time and resources. Money is not an issue. Brent said, I just want results. Yes, Mr. Hansen. Edward said, I'll do my best to find out everything you want to know for you. Over the next few weeks, Edward started an investigation into Owen. He utilized his professional skills and contacts too. The story reveals what lies beneath Owen's glamorous exterior. By searching publicly available business information, and analyzing the financial statements of Richmond Enterprise, Edward found that the company was growing incredibly fast. There is a lot of doubt in it. Through confidential interviews with a number of employees who have left and undercover investigations of business partners who no longer work with Owen, he learned that Owen often used unscrupulous tactics to obtain projects and suppress competitors. For example, in bidding for a government project, Owen would bribe officials to get inside information, and in doing so, develop more competitive bids. He'll also use the media and public opinion to smear his competitors. It even went so far as to create some false news to mislead the public. In one of the investigations, Edward, by tracking down one of Owen's senior assistants, he was found to be frequenting some high-class clubs and secret meetings with some unidentified people. Edward, using special photographic equipment, some key photos and recordings were taken. After analyzing these photos and audio, identified government officials with whom Owen made power and money deals. Meanwhile, Brent also learns more about Owen from Melody. Turns out, Owen knew all along that Jason and Jennifer were his kids, but he didn't publicly recognize them as such. Instead, they're using the secret to blackmail Melody, make her favor herself in some business decisions. Brent, look at the family portrait. The photo shows him with a big smile on his face. But the reality is that he's broken inside. The flames of vengeance began to burn. The next few days, for Brent, every day seems like walking on the tip of a knife. The laughter of the night of the family reunion. Long ago, it was replaced by bitter memories and anger. He couldn't face that family photo again. Every time I see my once bright smile in a photo, it's all like a slap in the face. Laughing at his stupidity and gullibility, he shut himself up in his study and began a frantic search for all information related to Richmond Enterprise and Owen Richmond. He needs to know the man who took everything from him. Exactly what kind of a person. Meanwhile, Edward's investigation is also in full swing. He's like a sponge, absorbing everything about Owen. It is also screened, analyzed, and validated. A couple weeks down the road, Edward is getting to know Owen better. He found that Owen's history isn't as glamorous as it's made out to be. It's full of deception and dirty deals. Mr. Hansen, there are some new discoveries. One afternoon, Edward called Brent. The tone was serious. Say it. Brent's voice is low. He was ready for a harsher reality. Based on my investigation, Richmond Enterprise over the past few years, it's been involved in at least a dozen questionable projects. Edward went into detail about the information he had gathered through various sources. Example, a large commercial complex project in downtown LA. Richmond Enterprise is suspected of bribing local officials, having obtained planning permission, and irregularly increased the plot ratio. Thus, huge profits were made. I approached one of the officials who was in charge of approving the program at the time. He's retired, living in a remote town. After a lot of hard work, I finally got in touch with him and persuaded him to give some testimony. Although he did not directly admit to taking the bribe, but his words imply that there was some unusual maneuvering going on. There is also a residential project located in the suburbs. Richmond Enterprise, in an effort to reduce costs, having used substandard building materials. This led to serious quality problems in the house. A number of property owners have banded together in preparation for a lawsuit against Richmond Enterprise. I reached out to the attorney representing them, having obtained a number of relevant litigation documents. These documents serve to prove that there were clear violations at Richmond Enterprise. Furthermore, I also investigated Richmond Enterprise's tax situation. Through a company specializing in data analytics, I obtained financial data for Richmond Enterprise for the last few years. It is also analyzed in depth. The results show that Richmond Enterprise had a large number of unusual transactions and movements of funds. There is likely to be tax evasion. These data analyses require a relatively high level of specialized skills, and the data needs to be available through specific channels. Mr. Hansen, this is just the tip of the iceberg, Edward said. Owen Richmond's business empire, built on countless lies and fraud. He has, by all means, including bribes, threats, and even violence, to remove obstacles in the way. Brent listened quietly. Waves had long been rising inside. He hadn't thought that Owen turned out to be such a scumbag. One more thing, Mr. Hansen, Edward added. Your son, Jason, he's interning at the Richmond Enterprise over the summer. The news gave Brent a pang of unease. He knows Jason has a passion for the construction industry, and Richmond Enterprise is undoubtedly one of the top companies in this industry. He's worried Owen's gonna take advantage of it to instill false values in Jason. It even pulled him into the abyss of sin. I know, Brent said. I'll talk to him. After hanging up, Brent was deep in thought. He has to stop Jason from getting into the Richmond Enterprise as soon as possible. But he doesn't want Jason to know what's going on. He didn't want his children to face the dark side of the world too early. A few days later, Brent, he's got a chance, had an in-depth conversation with Jason. Jason, I hear you're interning at the Richmond Enterprise for the summer? Brent asked. Keep your tone as calm as possible. Yes, Dad. Jason's face was aglow with excitement. I put in my resume. I didn't expect to actually get accepted. This is the Richmond Enterprise. How many people dream of this opportunity? I know Richmond Enterprise is a great company, but Brent, weighing his words, have you ever thought that this company may not be as glamorous as it seems? Dad, why do you say that? Jason asked, puzzled. Richmond Enterprise is a benchmark in the industry. Their programs are models for the industry. I just heard something about this company. Brent tried to explain. Their owner, Owen Richmond, maybe isn't an honest and trustworthy person. Dad, are you listening to any rumors? Jason was a little upset. Owen Richmond is a very successful entrepreneur. He started with nothing, created the Richmond Enterprise. He's my idol. Look at Jason's adoring eyes. Brent's heart stung. He knows Jason has fallen under the spell of Owen's aura. It's hard to listen to him. Jason, I just want you to be discreet. Don't trust people so easily. Brent said. The world. There are a lot of things that aren't what you think they are. Dad, I know you're concerned about me, but I really think you're overthinking it. Jason said. I'll judge for myself. The conversation ended inconclusively. Jason still insists on interning at Richmond Enterprise. Brent felt a surge of weakness. He knows he's going to have to move faster. In the next few moments, while Brent continues to cooperate with Edward's investigation, while starting to work on his revenge plan, he's utilizing his contacts, reaching out to some of the people who have been hurt by Owen. Some of these people are small business owners who were screwed over by Owen's vicious competition. There are partners who have been duped by Owen. There are also ordinary residents whose homes were razed by Owen. Brent organized the victims. A group called the Justice League was formed. He told them what had happened to him and encouraging them to stand up for themselves. Expose Owen's crimes. Meanwhile, Brent also secretly contacted a couple of reporters from prominent media outlets, including Lily, a reporter for the Financial Times, which specializes in financial scandals, and Max, a reporter for The Guardian who specializes in investigative reporting. He gave them some leads on Owen and the Richmond enterprise and offered to provide more information in due course. Everything was done in secret. Brent, like a seasoned chess player, patiently laying out waiting for the perfect moment. He knows his opponent, Owen, is a formidable and cunning foe. He has to take it in stride. It's the only way to achieve ultimate victory. And Owen's side is starting to pick up on it. Even though he doesn't know exactly who's behind his investigation, still, he sensed an undercurrent coming his way. He began to increase security measures at his company and sends his confidant, Lucas, to get to the bottom of things. Lucas, as Owen's right-hand man, knowledgeable about Owen's past and present business activities. He knows Owen's ways. It is also known that the rise of Richmond Enterprise has not been entirely honorable, although he doesn't agree with some of Owen's practices. But he chose to stay loyal to Owen, because he knows that, once Owen's down, he's hardly immune himself. There's a storm coming, and both Brent and Owen are ready for the challenge. Only, none of them knew that. Where this storm will lead them. As the investigation progressed and the program was phased in, a storm is building against Owen Richmond. Brent is like a virtuoso conductor, leading the way, a symphony of vengeance. After careful planning and preparation, Brent decides to start implementing his plan. He knows, to take down Owen once and for all, it has to be a two-pronged approach, both to make him suffer commercially. Again, he's going to be disgraced in terms of his reputation. First, Brent chose to break the story anonymously. He categorized the various types of incriminating evidence Edward had collected about the Richmond enterprise. 4 different media and regulatory bodies. Different strategies for breaking news were developed. For Lily, a reporter for the Financial Times, Brent provided detailed evidence of tax evasion and financial fraud at Richmond Enterprise. He knows Lily's been following the financial scandals. The evidence was undoubtedly of great value to her. Ms. Lily, I have some information here about Richmond Enterprise. I'm sure you'll be interested. Brent processed his voice through a voice changer. Dialed Lily's number. Who are you? What are you trying to say? Lily asked warily. It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is the veracity of this information. Brent said, I can assure you, this information is true, and I have more evidence to offer. Through several discreet contacts, Brent gradually gained Lily's trust. He provided Lily with Richmond Enterprise's financial statements, internal emails, and the testimony of a number of key individuals. All of this evidence points to serious violations of law at Richmond Enterprise. And for the Guardian's Max. Brent, on the other hand, offers the Richmond Enterprise for demolishing homes and polluting the environment, and evidence of power and money transactions with government officials. He knew that Max had been working to investigate social injustice and abuse of power. The evidence was enough for him to write a sensational story. Mr. Max, you've been focusing on social justice. I've got some shady stuff here about Richmond Enterprise. You might be interested. Brent contacted Max the same way. Go ahead. Max answered succinctly. Richmond Enterprise has committed serious violations of law in multiple projects, including demolition, pollution, and bribery of officials. I have ample evidence to prove it. Communication with Max went equally well. Brent provided him with relevant photographs, videos, audio recordings, and other evidence, and guided him to interview some of the victims. Meanwhile, Brent also sent a portion of the evidence anonymously to the appropriate government regulator. Includes IRS, EPA, and the Quality Supervision Authority for Construction Works, etc. He hoped that through the government's an investigation of the Richmond Enterprise bring Owen to justice. While all this is going on, Brent hasn't forgotten about the Justice League. He meets regularly with members of the Justice League, encouraging them to gather more evidence and provide them with legal assistance. Finally, with Brent's careful planning, a firestorm of public opinion has begun against Owen Richmond. The Financial Times first published an investigative story about financial fraud at Richmond Enterprise. The report details a variety of Richmond Enterprise's offenses and cites a wealth of evidence and expert analysis. Once the article is published, immediately sparking a furor, the shares of Richmond Enterprise fell in response. Immediately following, The Guardian also ran an in-depth piece on the Richmond Enterprise's demolition of homes and pollution, which interviewed a number of victims and released some shocking photos and videos. The story put Owen Richmond in the spotlight. The public has condemned his unscrupulous behavior. Other media outlets have since followed suit. A verbal takedown of the Richmond Enterprise and Owen Richmond. For a moment, Owen Richmond has become a street rat. Everyone shouts. In the face of a sudden storm of public opinion, Owen was caught off guard. He immediately called an emergency meeting, discussed the response. What the hell is going on here? Who's behind this? Owen growled angrily. Lucas, you go check for me. Make sure you find this man out. Lucas, the loyal confidant to Owen. At the moment, it is also burnt out. He knows. This crisis is not a small one. If it's not handled well, Richmond Enterprise could very well be ruined. Boss, I've sent my men to find out, but there's no clue yet. Lucas said. The other side is obviously prepared and very familiar with how the media works. Wastes. Bunch of losers. Owen is furious. Are we just sitting ducks? Boss, we have to act fast. Otherwise, the consequences are unimaginable. Lucas suggested that we could hold a press conference, setting the record straight, redeeming reputation. Does it work? Owen asked skeptically. Those in the media have portrayed us as sinners of tin. Will anyone believe anything they say now? Whether it works or not, we're going to try, Lucas said. Also, we need to use some of our connections. Let the government department stop investigating us. Owen is silent for a moment, then said, Okay, just do what you said. Remember, at all costs, make sure you set this thing right. However, Owen's counterattack didn't do much good. On the one hand, the evidence presented by Brent was overwhelming. A lot of it came from Lucas, the internal executive who was turned. This evidence has been analyzed and verified by professionals, has a high degree of credibility. On the other hand, the public has been outraged by the media coverage of the lost trust in Richmond Enterprise and Owen Richmond. Just then, Melody also made an important decision. She found Brent, expressing its willingness to testify, expose Owen's crimes of the day. Brent, I know I've made an unforgivable mistake, but now, I have to make up for my mistakes, Melody said. Her eyes were firm and determined, and I'm gonna make sure Owen gets what he deserves. Melody's transformation gives Brent a small measure of relief. He knows. Melody's not just doing this for redemption. It's more about protecting Jason and Jennifer. Don't let them get hurt by Owen again. Thank you, Melody, Brent said. Your testimony is very important. It will be the key to bringing down Owen. With the combined forces of multiple, the crisis at Richmond Enterprise intensified. The company's stock price continues to plummet. The multiple projects have been called off by the partners are canceling their contracts in droves. Investors are also beginning to withdraw their capital. Meanwhile, significant progress has also been made in the investigation of Richmond Enterprise by the relevant government authorities. The IRS has substantiated years of tax evasion by the Richmond Enterprise. The EPA has also confirmed serious environmental pollution problems at several of its projects. The Construction Quality Supervision Bureau also found quality problems with several of its projects, and the programs were penalized by calling off and rectifying the situation. In the face of hard evidence, Owen finally realizes he's lost it. He tried to evade the law by all means, but all to no avail. The once prominent Richmond Enterprise, now that it has faltered, on the verge of bankruptcy, and Owen Richmond, this once untouchable business magnate, it's also been targeted, facing jail time. Boss, what do we do now? Lucas asked. There was desperation in his voice. "What else can we do? Run away?" Owen said, "While it's still under full control. We have to get out of here as soon as possible." However, just as Owen was about to abscond, the police appeared in front of him. Turns out, Brent already had a handle on Owen's movements through Edward and reported it to the police at a critical time. "Owen Richmond, you're under suspicion of multiple offenses. Now under arrest according to law." An officer presented Owen with an arrest warrant. Owen stared blankly at the warrant. A look of despair crossed his face. He knows. His life is completely over. And at this point Brent is standing not far away. Watch this coldly. He knows. This battle for revenge isn't over yet. But at least, he had seen the light of victory. Inside him, a mixed bag of flavors. There's the thrill of a successful revenge. There is also unspeakable bitterness. This storm, not only did it destroy Owen's business empire, it has also revolutionized the lives of many people. Jason, after learning Owen's true colors, the decision to leave Richmond Enterprise was made with determination. He couldn't accept that the man he once idolized was such a despicable villain. Melody is finally relieved and redeemed. She is determined to spend the rest of her life making up for the mistakes she has made. And Brent, although he won the war, but his heart was full of exhaustion and emptiness. He doesn't know that. What's the way forward? Owen Richmond's arrest. Like a boulder thrown into a calm lake, it stirred up ripples. This storm of vengeance, orchestrated by Brent. Finally, the end is in sight. The court trial was open and fair. As the investigation progressed, more and more evidence is being presented to the public. The crimes of Owen and his Richmond enterprise have also been revealed one by one. In court, Owen tried to defend himself. He puts all the blame on his subordinates, claims he had no knowledge of the company's illegal behavior. However, in the face of overwhelming evidence, his defense paled in comparison. Melody's testimony was the final straw that broke Owen's back. She told us in detail how Owen had coerced her, and the pain and suffering she has endured over the years. Your Honor, members of the jury, as I stand here today, it's about exposing Owen Richmond's crimes. It's also about seeking justice. Melody's voice was a little shaky, though, but with unusual firmness. Back in the day, I was trying to help my husband Brent's career, seek financial help from Owen. However, he took advantage of the situation, violated me. What's even more odious is that, and he's using the incident too, holding me hostage for years. Let me favor him in my business decisions. Melody's testimony shocked everyone in the room, and it's also broken Owen's last line of psychological defense. Lucas, a former Richmond Enterprise executive who was turned, also provided details and references to Owen's numerous business crimes. After a lengthy trial, the court ultimately rendered judgment. Owen Richmond, convicted on multiple counts, including bribery, fraud, tax evasion, and hostile competition, sentenced to 20 years imprisonment and a fine of $100 million. Richmond Enterprise has also been hit with a hefty fine for a number of offenses and was ordered to cease and desist. The company was eventually liquidated in bankruptcy. Justice has been served, but Brent's heart wasn't as easy as he thought it would be. This battle for revenge, though it ended in his favor, but it also cost him dearly. His marriage to Melody had long been on the rocks. Jason, while understanding his plight, but there's also a slight disconnect between father and son. After the conclusion of the trial, Brent went to the beach alone. He looked out over the rough sea and thoughts. This revenge, what exactly is it for? For justice? For love? Or for yourself? He doesn't know. All he knows is, in the wake of this storm, there's no going back. 10 years later, LA has long since changed forever. The collapse of Richmond Enterprise, leaving the city without one of its former landmarks. It also takes away a colorful part of the LA skyline. Brent left his construction company in the hands of his loyal employee, Gilbert. Gilbert is an honest and trustworthy man. He has always taken the company and every project as his own. In all the years that Brent has been around Owen, Gilbert assumed most of the management of the company's operations, who guarded the company with his integrity and diligence, and led the company steadily forward. On the day Brent decided to turn the company over to Gilbert, he said to Gilbert, "This company has been my life's work. I trust you, and only you." It keeps him on the straight and narrow. Brent himself chose to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city, bought a piece of land out in the countryside, built a carpentry workshop of his own. He's picked up the hobby of his youth, the every day with the wood, living a peaceful and fulfilling life. Jennifer became a doctor who saved lives, worked at a prestigious hospital in LA. She has helped many patients with her medical skills. It has also earned the respect of patients and colleagues. Jason is married to an environmentalist named Leah and is committed to the cause of sustainable construction. He never forgot his father's teachings and the lessons Owen Richmond taught him. He is determined, by his actions, to make some positive changes in the world. On a sunny afternoon, Brent is busy in his woodworking workshop. He was making a wooden chair that it was his wedding gift to Jason and Leah. That's when the phone rang. "It's Jason." "Dad, are you busy?" Jason's voice came from the other end of the line. "I'm making a chair for your wedding present," Brent said. The tone was full of compassion. "Thanks, Dad," Jason said. "Leah and I would like to invite you to our wedding. It's next month." "Yeah, I'll definitely be there," Brent said. A long-awaited smile appeared on his face. After hanging up, Brent continued the task at hand. The sunlight poured through the window on his. It gilded him with a golden glow. He looked at the wooden chair in his hands, and it's like seeing a happy future for Jason and Leah and Owen Richmond. It's inside a high wall at the moment, living a life of darkness. He spends his days in remorse and pain. The glory that was once there has long since become a thing of the past. From time to time, he thinks of the family he once had. Think of Melody. Thinking of Jason and Jennifer. Think of the business empire you built and destroyed with your own hands. Only there's no going back. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.